moving on now, Wednesdays here on the program, we like to put the spotlight on the farm women's group, CommonGround.
CommonGround is a group of farm women who want to be a resource for consumers who want to know more about how their food is grown. So in this segment, we hear from a volunteer on a natural way of controlling flies on the farm.
Well, sustainability is always a part of the conversation when we visit with CommonGround volunteers. Joining me now is one of those volunteers, Crystal Klug. We want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing on your farm when it comes to a biological way of handling flies.
Yes, we first learned about a biological way to control our fly population a few years ago, and we have started utilizing this about 3 years ago. So what it is we receive a shipment from a company out of Texas, and they mail us essentially wasp parasites. And what those do, we spread them around our farm on the outer perimeter of our feedlot. And what these wasp parasites do is they eat the fly pupa, so unhatched flies, they attack those. They don't harm animals, they don't harm people, and these are tiny, tiny wasps.
Have you used chemicals in recent years, or have you turned away from that? And maybe also, why do you think it's important to maybe get away from having to use as many chemicals and pesticides around the farm?
So the first year, we still had to use some chemicals to spray for flies. The second year was much better, but we still did spray just a little bit. And this year's the first year that we have seen a significant decrease in the amount of flies that we have. And we've been able to not use any chemicals this year, which is safer for humans and for animals. I also want to mention that it's important also to keep those pens clean. So we work really hard. The guys do a great job of box scraping and keeping manure out of the pens, and that also helps. The company we work with is Cunafin, and they're based out of Texas. There is a definite cost to it, but we look at this as a long-term approach to fly control. You know, my kids and my family, we live on the farm, so we want to do everything that we can to cut out as many chemicals that we can on our farm, and so that's important to us as well.
All right, well, it is certainly great to see how producers are working hard to be sustainable and to be careful about what they're putting on their land or using around their animals, and this is just an example of that. Also, Crystal, we know you're going to be back a little bit later with a recipe to share.
I have a breakfast burrito recipe that's packed with protein and great for those busy mornings.
Sounds good. Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes.